After 5 years of marriage, my husband brought the woman he always wanted, pregnant, into our home. Layla is about to have her baby. No one can sign her surgical consent form. To prevent any issues, let's get a divorce first. Robert signaled with his eyes from the side, and Tommy, his nephew, quickly chimed in, Aunt Sarah, Layla is so pathetic. Let's just help her out. Didn't you teach me to be responsible? You should step up and set an example for me now. Seeing I wouldn't agree, the two of them ganged up on me, accusing me of being heartless. Tommy even declared that if I didn't agree, he would never speak to me again in his life. I wasn't surprised by Robert's reaction. After all, she was the woman he always wanted. But even his nephew, whom I had cared for tirelessly for 3 years, sided with an outsider. My heart turned to ash. I wiped away my tears and agreed to their demand. The three of them clapped and cheered. Robert thought I was kept in the dark about his dirty business with Layla and that he was about to become a father. In reality, the one who was infertile was him. Dinner is served. To celebrate Layla's arrival, my husband, who hadn't cooked in 5 years, personally made dinner. I sneered and went back to my room. Seeing me leave, Layla leaned on Robert's shoulder. Is Sarah angry? Maybe I should leave. Don't worry about her. She always has that cold, lifeless face. Besides, you're pregnant. What if it affects the baby? You'll stay right here. I'd like to see who dares to upset you. Robert put his arm around Layla's shoulder, glaring fiercely at my room. Aunt Sarah is just cold-blooded. She never has any sympathy. I was weak, but she always made me eat vegetables, practically wishing I would die sooner. They spoke without any reservation, acting as if I were their enemy. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Tommy's father died when he was young, and he lived with his mother in the countryside. When he was 5, he became severely ill and almost died at home. His mother, seeing he wasn't going to make it, turned around and ran off. It was I who brought him to the city and arranged for him to be hospitalized. During his treatment, I stayed by his window day and night, terrified of anything happening to him. Because his illness required dietary restrictions and worried he might feel resentful, I, a meat lover, ate only vegetables with him every day for 3 years. For 3 years, I took meticulous care of him, something I wouldn't have done even for my own child. And the result of my efforts? Being called cold-blooded and lacking sympathy. My heart turned to ice, and the last shred of reluctance I felt dissipated. The three of them finished dinner happily, completely ignoring me, and immediately cleared the table. After washing the dishes, Robert knocked on my door. Layla is pregnant, and the other beds aren't comfortable. You go sleep upstairs. Calling her Layla so quickly, he wasn't even bothering to pretend anymore. I had no desire to argue with him and went upstairs without looking back. We lived in a gated community, a 3-story house that my parents had left me. Over the past few years, with my financial support, Robert started a company and became Boss Robert. As soon as he tasted the power of being in charge, he couldn't stay faithful. The housekeeper had taken leave and gone home. Before leaving, she had thoroughly cleaned the entire house, inside and out, and the bedding upstairs had just been changed. As soon as I lay down, Layla updated her social media. The picture showed her holding Robert's hand, lying on my bed. Tommy stood beside them, smiling and giving a peace sign. 2 warm little stoves, one big and one small. So good to have you both. At the end, she added 3 heart emojis. This post was clearly meant for me. A declaration of ownership after usurping my place? Whatever. I didn't care anymore. This pathetic man, you want him? Just take him. I opened my contacts and found a number I hadn't called in years. I've made up my mind. Do you still mean what you said? A few seconds later, a slightly hoarse voice came through the phone. I'm abroad. I can be back in a day or 2. Early the next morning, there was a knock on my door. I thought it was Robert coming to ask me for breakfast, but I was mistaken. At the doorway, little Tommy stood in front of the 2 of them, looking up at me imperiously. Seeing me emerge, Layla deliberately tightened her grip on Robert's arm, her eyes filled with smugness and provocation. Have you thought about the divorce? Don't worry, we'll remarry after Layla has the baby. Robert's expression was completely flat as he spoke. I looked at their entwined arms, then at the divorce papers in his other hand, and couldn't help but find it amusing. Remarry? Did he think I was born yesterday? Don't misunderstand. Layla is pregnant and her hormones are out of whack. She needs close physical contact to feel secure. You haven't been pregnant, so you wouldn't understand. Seeing me look at him, Robert offered a perfunctory explanation. It doesn't matter. Whatever you two do is fine. Regarding the divorce, as long as you leave with nothing, I have no problem. This was what I had decided last night. He wanted to be with the woman he always wanted. Fine. As for anything else, he could forget it. No. Layla visibly panicked. As soon as she spoke, she turned to Robert, urging him to refuse. Seeing this, I was even more certain that she was only after Robert's money. It was a shame that the Robert she saw as being on top of the world was actually just a hollow shell. The house was premarital property and had nothing to do with Robert. The company might look profitable, but it couldn't withstand any turmoil. If there were cations from the divorce, it would crumble immediately. She thought Robert was a goose that laid golden eggs, but in reality, he was just a useless figurehead. Uncle works day and night to support you staying home and eating for free, but you want him to leave with nothing? Your heart is truly black. I think you're the one who should leave with nothing. What kind of good person buys a useless bag for tens of thousands? You've been sucking Uncle dry all these years. You need to give back all the money you spent from Uncle, or we'll call the police and have you arrested. Tommy pointed at me, growing more agitated as he spoke, hitting me repeatedly with his small fists. I finally understood why he hated me so much despite how good I had been to him. It turned out he thought all the money was his. No wonder he tried every possible way to stop me whenever I bought something. He was feeling protective of his money. Robert and I had no children. If not for this situation, this family fortune would indeed have been his. But alas, there are no ifs in this world. He thought choosing Robert was the right decision, but he, like Layla, only saw Robert's flashy exterior. Sadly, their plans would amount to nothing. Robert was a typical opportunist. Despite wearing the facade of a boss Robert now, he would reveal his true nature at the slightest hiccup. Slap! Having understood the reason, I showed no mercy and slapped Tommy directly across the face. My face full of fury, I pointed at his nose. I paid for your treatment, I put you through school, and you want to call the police on me? Whose heart is black? Sarah, if you're upset, take it out on me. How can you hit a child? If things are this bad, I'll just leave. Even living on the streets is better than being treated like this. Layla squatted down and shielded Tommy in her arms. She looked so pained, anyone would think she was the child's birth mother. Sarah, what exactly do you want? Are you only happy if you drive Layla away? Robert's face was grim. This was the first time he had called me by my full name since we got married. It was clear he was completely infatuated with the woman he always wanted. What do I want? Isn't it obvious what you three want? I saved his life and raised him for 3 years, and this is how he treats me? What's wrong with me slapping him? Is that wrong? And you, Layla, do whatever you want, stop acting pitiful. You're pregnant out of wedlock, and you don't even know who the father is. Living on the streets is what you deserve. Meeting Robert's gaze, I didn't flinch. I finally realized that showing any pity or sympathy to these three was only pushing myself deeper into the abyss. Tommy is just a kid. What if he got excited and said something wrong? As for Layla, she was drunk that day. What if she doesn't know who the father is? All she's asking is for you to sign the divorce papers. I told you the reason. Tommy is right, you truly have no sympathy. My words clearly provoked Robert. His hand was raised above his shoulder as he spoke, just short of slapping me. Usually, I would back down when he was angry, but not this time. I stared him down, my eyes fixed on his. Robert turned to the two of them. Let's go out and have some fun. We'll go to the amusement park, eat a big seafood dinner. We won't stay here and let this crazy woman bother us. The three of them left, decisively. I drove to the hospital. I was going to prepare a surprise for Robert during the divorce. It was almost noon when Layla and Robert simultaneously updated their social media. In the photos, Robert carried Tommy on his back, and Layla rested her head on his shoulder. The three of them held up king crabs and gave peace signs, beaming with happiness. The caption was even more outrageous. This is what a family of three looks like. No, 4. There's a baby in the belly too. The comp. Any manager saw it and commented, "Boss Robert, did you divorce your wife?" He followed with 3 exclamation points, expressing his shock. From the manager's perspective, there was no other explanation for such pictures and captions unless they were divorced. It's just a matter of days. Seeing this, I gave a cold laugh and called the company directly. Half an hour later, Robert called me. "Sarah, what the hell do you want? Why did you freeze my card? Do you know how embarrassing that was when I had to pay? Were you trying to deliberately humiliate me in front of Layla? I never realized before how malicious you are." Robert's roar came through the phone. This public humiliation had driven him completely mad. To this, I merely replied with 3 words, lightly. "Opportunist." I don't know if he was provoked by the word opportunist or if he was genuinely out of money. That afternoon, he called me dozens of times. As soon as his calls stopped, I received a photo from Aunt Martha, the accountant. It was a screenshot of a credit report. Robert had been forced to take out a loan, totaling $100,000. The money was transferred to his personal bank account. Looks like I need to finalize the divorce quickly. If I wait any longer, who knows how much debt he'll rack up. Since I was certain Layla was after money, she would definitely keep spending in the coming period. The little money Robert had wouldn't last her more than a few days. Having made up my mind, I arranged to meet with Aunt Martha, the accountant, that evening. I needed her cooperation for some things. Aunt Martha and my parents were old friends, for decades. I trusted her completely. I talked with Aunt Martha for a long time. It was already 9 o'clock when I got back. If it hadn't suddenly started raining, we would have talked longer. After parking the car, as soon as I walked in, Tommy ran up to me, fuming. "You old hag, why? Oh, you freeze Uncle's bank account? That's all money Uncle earned. You live off him for free and you're still not satisfied? I'm going to kill you today." Tommy said this as he grabbed a slipper from the floor. Just as he was about to throw it, he met my gaze directly. Seeing my furious, almost man-eating expression, he suddenly froze, clearly remembering the slap from that afternoon. "Forget it. You've already taken out your anger on your clothes and bags. I'll let you off easy today." As soon as he said that, my mind went blank. My clothes and bags weren't important. What mattered were the keepsakes my parents left me. I didn't dare to think further. I didn't even bother taking off my shoes and rushed back to my original room. But when I opened both closets, they were empty. Where are they? I'm asking you, where are my things? I ran back like a madwoman, but Tommy had a smug look on his face. "Tell me, where are my things?" I had no patience left. I took 2 steps forward and raised my hand directly. If he didn't tell me, it wouldn't just be this one slap. Countless more would land on him. Up on the rooftop patio. Tommy shivered and quickly raised his hand, pointing towards the stairs. Hearing this, my heart sank halfway. My gaze locked onto Robert and Layla, who were sitting by the table, watching the show. My things weren't few, and an 8-year-old couldn't have moved them all. This was their retaliation. It was raining outside, and my parents' keepsakes were still out there. I didn't have time to settle scores with them. I rushed to the rooftop patio, but the sight before me froze me in place. All my things were scattered across the patio like trash. Some had even fallen downstairs. I quickly searched for my parents' wedding dress and suit. When I finally held them, I found that the suit had been cut into small pieces, and the wedding dress was torn beyond recognition. Seeing my parents' keepsakes ruined like this, I instantly lost all my strength and collapsed onto the ground. In the heavy rain, I cried uncontrollably. These were the most precious things my parents had left me in this world, and they had destroyed them like this. All my other things were fine, only these 2 items were ruined. Only Robert knew their value to me. He must have orchestrated this. I was furious. I wiped away my tears and started to go down to confront them, but the patio door had been locked from the outside. I slammed against it a few times, my shoulder aching terribly. I took out my phone to call for help, but because I had been crying for so long, my phone had gotten wet and shut off. I shouted for the neighbors, but in the heavy rain, my voice was very small, and the houses in the gated community were far apart. No one noticed me. The night rain was cold, and soon I couldn't help but shiver. I found a coat that was already soaked, put it on, and squatted in the corner. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and the rain poured down on the patio. It turned out that when your heart is completely cold, there are no tears left. At 3 in the morning, the night security guard found me almost frozen unconscious by noticing the scattered clothes below. The guard quickly called for help. Soon, the patio door was opened, and a group of people rushed in. "Honey, why are you frozen like this? You should have called us to open the door." Robert said this as he reached out to help me up. I mustered my last bit of strength, pushed his hand away, and then looked at my shoulders, which had already turned blue. "Miss Sarah, do you need us to call the police?" the security captain asked, pulling out his phone with a serious expression. I didn't answer. I glanced at Robert beside me, who was still trying hard to feign concern, then my gaze settled on Layla inside the door, wearing my pajamas and looking smug. "Please take me to the hospital." I decided against calling the police because it was pointless. They had planned everything. When the police arrived, they would definitely blame everything on Tommy. An 8-year-old child isn't criminally liable. This is why they were so fearless. Using this incident as a starting point, the worst that could happen was Tommy being sent back to the countryside, which was what they wanted anyway. After all, Robert thought the child was his. Instead of keeping a nephew who might compete for the inheritance in the future, it was better to find a way to get rid of him. Before they destroyed my parents' keepsakes and locked me on the patio, I had planned to give them some leeway. It was this act of mercy that gave them an opportunity. Why did it take so long to find her? 2 more hours and she could have died from hypothermia. What kind of family member are you? At the hospital, after examining me, the doctor reprimanded Robert. How was I supposed to know she was on the patio? Besides, whose fault is it if she didn't call out? Being dragged to the hospital in the middle of the night, Robert was very annoyed. If it weren't for me, he would be sleeping soundly with the woman he always wanted. But he was still my husband by name. With something like this happening, he had to come, no matter how unwilling he was. "Go pay the bill." The doctor didn't want to argue and handed the bill to Robert. "You pay for her. I don't have any money." Robert stepped back, showing no intention of paying. I forced myself to muster a little energy and took my wallet from my coat. "Please help me pay this." The security guard from the gated community had also come. He took the wallet and quickly ran out of the hospital room. I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already noon. The security guard was dozing at the small table beside the bed, and Robert was long gone. "Miss Sarah, you're awake. How are you feeling?" The sound of me getting up for water startled the guard. He opened his sleepy eyes, still clearly worried. I smiled. "Much better, thank you for bringing me here." Seeing that I was all right, the guard smiled and handed me the wallet he had been clutching. From his demeanor, it was clear Robert had tried to get it from him. I borrowed his phone and dialed a number. "Are you back yet?" "Just landed. Do you want me to come to you?" The voice sounded tired, clearly having rushed back. "I've changed my mind. Get ready." Hearing my words, the other person was initially a little confused, but after hearing my plan, he was silent for a long time. "You're insane." My body was still very weak. I took another nap in the afternoon. After dinner, Robert walked in with the printed divorce papers. "Does it have to be this way?" He stood about 6 feet away, looking at me quietly. My expression was indifferent. "Did you think I didn't know that child was yours? Let's just save face for each other." Robert silently handed the divorce papers to me. The contents were fine. There were 3 copies. I signed them and kept mine. We agreed to go to the courthouse the next day. As he was leaving, Robert looked at me. It seemed like he wanted to say something, but when his eyes landed on the specific Hermes bag model I had just bought on the small table, his expression suddenly turned cold, and he turned and left. Just as Robert left, a man with a small mustache, around 30 years old, wearing a tailored black suit, walked into the hospital room. He didn't say a word, pulled out a fruit knife, and started peeling an apple. Didn't we say we'd see each other later? Seeing him arrive early, I was clearly surprised. The man looked at me with dissatisfaction. You got yourself into the hospital just 1 day later. If I didn't come over, who knows what would happen to you? The man's name was David. He was my childhood friend. And a very good friend, the one on the phone. He went abroad with his parents when he was 18. We had seen each other a few times since then, but across such a distance, some things faded over time. The real turning point was when my parents passed away. Losing 2 loved ones consecutively in the same year, I couldn't bear the blow and became extremely withdrawn. I took an extended leave from school. David knew about it, but his own family was having problems at the time, and he was swamped. At that time, I desperately needed someone to lean on, and by chance, Robert appeared. Before this, we were just acquaintances. Under his 3 months of meticulous care, we became a couple. Just coincidentally, David returned then. I remember he looked angry all night that day. A few days later, he handed me a stack of documents. He had investigated Robert. I was furious at the time. It was also that day I learned that he had feelings for me too. Unfortunately, it was already too late. I found out about Robert's idealized past love from those documents. David had warned me then that this person was trouble and was after my money, but I was too naive at the time. The day before my wedding, David sent me a text message saying he would wait for me forever, and if I ever wanted to turn back, I should contact him immediately. I felt that wasn't fair to him, and I hadn't contacted him since. Who would have thought this fool actually didn't get married? In the past 2 years, David's parents had come back domestic a few times and talked to me, hinting that they wanted me to talk to David, but I couldn't do anything about that. You scared me when you said you changed your mind. I thought you regretted it. David handed me the peeled apple. How could I? I just thought the original plan was too easy on those 3. When I first called David, I had intended to part ways amicably. Unfortunately, they didn't know when to. Oh, stop. Do you want to change the plan? We could even use a stand-in. As soon as David finished speaking, I decisively shook my head. He knew my personality and didn't try to persuade me further. David was worried about other incidents happening, so he slept on the sofa, covered by a coat. When the nurse came to change my fort in the middle of the night, he carefully checked everything, afraid someone had tampered with it. Soon, it was the next morning. After a day of treatment and rest, I had regained some energy. After breakfast, I put on a coat and went to the underground parking lot with David. The car was mine, and Robert hadn't driven it away when he left last night. I walked towards the spot he mentioned. After walking a short distance, a car in the distance suddenly turned on its headlights and roared towards me, accelerating. Seeing this, David quickly wrapped his arms around me, turning to shield me behind him. Boom! Just as the car was less than 2 meters away from us, it suddenly collided with cars pulling out of the parking spots on either side. Grab him! David turned his head, his eyes fierce, and pointed at the driver in the opposite car. The driver initially tried to run, but 2 more cars rushed out from behind, boxing him in tightly. After getting out of the car, the driver pulled out a knife and tried to fight back, but the men David brought were skilled. They had him pinned to the ground in no time. Secure the scene and wait for the police. After giving instructions, David took me to a Maybach. Although I had anticipated what might happen and prepared in advance, when everything actually unfolded, I still felt a surge of panic. That specific Hermes bag model yesterday was my way of deliberately provoking Layla. I guessed she would try to harm me. Not just me, Tommy and Robert were also on her list. I had simply moved up the timeline. The person who attacked was the biologica. Father of the baby Layla was carrying. He was unemployed. He was clearly targeting Robert's assets. I didn't know their original plan for dealing with me, but my preemptive move made them realize that most of the money was with me. The only outcome was that they would definitely make a move against me before I left Robert. Greed leads to ruin. The night they locked me on the patio, I understood everything. Don't worry, I'm here. Sensing my unease, David held me tightly. I never expected that after everything that happened, he would still be the one by my side in the end. When we arrived at the courthouse, Robert was already waiting outside. Seeing me get out of the car, a clear look of surprise flashed in his eyes. It wasn't until he saw David by my side that he returned to his usual demeanor. The company needs funds to operate. The account balance isn't enough. I need another $1 million. Once I get it, we'll get the divorce. Robert made a blatant demand. I was about to refuse, but David stopped me first. Fine, $1 million it is. Once the divorce is finalized, the money will be in your account immediately. David didn't want to get bogged down in these minor issues. Robert was hesitant at first, but then he saw the bodyguards behind David and the top-of-the-line Maybach parked by the roadside. The divorce process went smoothly. Robert also got the extra funds he wanted. I left you a gift. It's in the hidden compartment in the attic. This was the last thing I said to Robert before we parted ways. The gift I left Robert was the diagnostic report I had obtained 2 days prior. He might not believe it, but the result wouldn't change. To prevent another incident like today, I moved into David's new house. My body needed some time to recover. He told me to rest completely and leave everything else to him. My body had been severely affected by the cold that night. It had damaged my vitality. I felt listless. As for the next few days. Meanwhile, Robert went to the hospital again. The results came back, same as the diagnostic report I gave him, infertile. Tell me, whose child is it? Robert found Layla and questioned her in a hoarse voice. Whose could it be but yours? Are you even doubting that? The car crash was suspicious. Except for Tommy, everyone had been questioned and investigated. Layla thought Robert had heard something during the interrogation. She refused to admit anything. You slut. Robert had lost all his former tenderness. He slapped her across the face. The force of the blow was immense. Layla fell to the ground. She hadn't expected him to hit her. Are you crazy? Layla covered her burning cheek, staring at Robert with disbelief. Am I crazy, or are you the shameless slut? Robert said this, pulling out the diagnostic report from his pocket. At first, Layla didn't pay attention, but when she saw the words azoospermia, absence of sperm, her mind went blank. Robert, listen to me. It's not what you think. Layla tried to explain, but Robert wouldn't listen. He grabbed her from the ground and slammed her against the wall. Tell me, whose child is it? Robert had gone mad. He hadn't expected to lose so much, only for it all to be empty happiness in the end. Robert hadn't expected that the person he loved most would deceive him this way. He couldn't accept this result, especially not the fact that the infertile one was actually himself. Although he had gotten an extra $1 million, the value of the things Tommy destroyed that night far exceeded that amount. As Tommy's guardian, Robert was legally responsible for the compensation. At the company, he fired the accountant and unfroze the accounts, but the suppliers collectively broke their contracts. He was facing massive penalties for failing to deliver on time. Robert could sue, but the waiting period would be long enough to ruin him. Coupled with the compensation, he would be burdened with huge debts even if he won the lawsuit. Uncle, why are you treating Layla so badly? Are you as heartless as Aunt Sarah? Seeing Layla hit, Tommy questioned Robert imperiously. Heartless? If I were heartless, you little brat wouldn't be alive today. Robert threw Layla aside, grabbed Tommy by the neck, and lifted him into the air. You motherless piece of garbage, you've only known this slut for a few days and you're already taking her side? You probably don't know, but this slut planned to throw you back to the countryside and leave you to fend for yourself. If you hadn't been instigating and constantly urging me to kick Sarah out, would things have turned out like this? You call us heartless? When you were sick, Sarah stayed up day and night taking care of you, pulling you back from the brink of death. And you treated her like that for someone you just met a few days ago? What color is your heart? Calling you an ungrateful wretch is an understatement. Tommy, whose neck was being squeezed, was starting to turn blue. He frantically hit Robert's arm, but it was no use. Just as he was about to be strangled, Layla picked up a chair and smashed it against Robert's back. But her strength as a woman was limited. Robert only staggered and turned his head towards her. Layla wanted to escape, but the door was already locked. They had moved out of the gated community and were living in a regular apartment building. There was nowhere to run. Layla had a miscarriage. Robert was charged with assault and abuse and was jailed for 3 months. When he got out, seeing Tommy at the door, dressed in rags like a beggar, Robert smiled. "Sarah left because of you. We'll settle this score slowly later." Robert ruffled Tommy's head and let him out of the police station. Because she lost the baby, the man lost hope and eventually testified against Layla to reduce his sentence. They were sentenced to 15 and 18 years respectively. I heard Robert kept looking for me afterward and even applied for a security guard position at the gated community, but I had sold the house years ago. 2 years later, as David and I were walking on a small island, my phone rang. It was a picture sent by a friend from domestic. The photo showed 2 extremely scruffy men, one large and one small, rummaging through a trash can by the roadside. Today was truly a good day. If I weren't pregnant, I would definitely have a drink or 2 to celebrate.